The first 2 days of the MSI playing stage, or now they call it the group stages of MSI, have been over. And the first day, I don't really think there was all that much for me to cover, but I think that there's this very interesting team fight that happened in this game, where in Stubble Wildcats they went up against Mad Lions, and we were closely seeing the second upset of the day. Now, I thought that the Istanbul Wildcats had a very favorable draw for themselves, and it came down to one Baron fight where I think that they kind of through their position in the game against the Mad Lions, and we're going to be going through that Baron fight, and I'm going to be introducing this concept of visualizing your area of influence, right? Or basically drawing circles and visualizing these circles to try to understand how to take team fights better. Now, this is what happens in the game itself. They approach the Baron, Farfetch gets his flash blown earlier, and then they decide to pull the trigger onto the Baron here, throwing the Leona ultimate forward. The Leona then tries to engage, Nocturne immediately follows up, but because of how far ahead they are at the moment, the Tristana and Ryze, the core DPS of Istanbul Wildcats, are not able to follow up, and they are just simply able to step forward a little bit, while the Leona and Nocturne immediately get bursted down. The Tristana also attacks twice, and then they're forced to retreat. And meanwhile, in all of this, the Wukong gets access to the pit, while the Udyr is effectively not on the fight at all. Now, how does this happen, and how do you avoid, and how do you approach these situations in general? Now, this is where the circle drawing comes in, right? Now, if you were to take a look here, this is the purple circle is Ryze's area of influence, where it's basically what is his effective threat range, right? So in this case, you're looking at this E and W, and the Q is slightly longer as well. It goes up to about 900 range, but we're looking at an effective area of influence about 600 range around himself, which is the normal auto attack range for most AD carries, and this is a purple circle. Tristana has a slightly longer range on her, so that's the red circle around her. But what Tristana does have is a jump to move forward, and this extends her area of influence to much further as well. But off of this engage, right? If Tristana were to jump forward, now what's going to be happening is that they will be jumping into a 3v4 scenario, right? Because their Ryze is not able to follow up, and that will be a winning fight for the Mad Lions. Now, the simple way to approach this is if you're in Farfetch's position as a support, what you want to do is understand where these circles are for your team and what you want to be doing in order to technically engage. So here, in the case of Istanbul Wildcats, the opponents on the Baron, they're going to be corralled into a very specific corner of the map. They can play this slow and there's no rush to engage with the Leona ultimate in this scenario. He can play it slow, wait for the Ryze and for the Tristana to be closer before deciding to pull this trigger. The Nocturne can follow up at any point of time as well, and not to mention that the Udyr is horribly out of position. So even in this case, right? So let's say the Leona has already committed to this because sometimes columns are panicked and stuff. Now, if you're in Tristana's position, what should you do here? Holy Phoenix chose to play it safe. He wanted to keep the jump for outplays, but knowing that his team has the Nocturne ultimate, this is where you want to visualize where your opponent's area of influence is. Now, the main threat here is going to be the Victor, of course, right? Because of the Nocturne ultimate, and if the Ryze is guarding you, if the Kai'Sa tries to fly in, the Kai'Sa will get deleted by the Ryze, and in this case, the Victor is as long as not jumping into the Q range of the Victor, it's going to be difficult for him to really go onto you, especially with the Nocturne going to be going onto the Victor itself. So as long as you jump into this position over here, you can actually start to try to create a kill on the Nautilus, pick up a reset for yourself, and then follow up onto the rest of the engage from the Nocturne and Leona. But what is a missing fourth role in this scenario is the Udyr, which there was an original mistake as they're setting up for the Drake. Because if you're going to be playing the Vanguard and the job is to mark the flanks, notice how Istanbul Wildcats now they have control of the river, right? They have control of this choke point. And what this Udyr should be doing is he should be aggressively running the Wukong out of this area, and he shouldn't be afraid to trade. Now, this is very similar to what we saw when Damwon Kia played against Suning in the World Championship Finals, and this is a support pantheon, right? He's down like 3 levels against, 3 to 4 levels against the strongest member of the opponent's team. And what does he do? He just goes in there and willingly blows his load against the Wukong to try to force the Wukong to use the ultimate prematurely in a situation where he isn't threatening this massive fight. Because if Wukong is not able to threaten the ultimate onto the Ryze and the Tristana, it makes team fights a lot easier for the Istanbul Wildcats. So here, even if Udyr is just trading his HP bar to burn the ultimate, it might be worth as well. And on top of that, if you look at it from Mad Lion's perspective, it's very difficult for Armor to really trade onto the Udyr because of the range of influence of the Tristana simply being able to jump over there because they have control of the choke at this point of time and the follow up from the Nocturne as well. So what's the summary of what we can learn from this team fight, right? There's four roles in these type of reset based all in team fight. So if you have a reset champion, be it the Jinx or Tristana, or Kai'Sa serves as a pseudo reset champion of sorts. Uh, First, you need to understand from the engage perspective. This is usually the first thing that I go through with teams is you need to understand the effective area of influence and how quickly you want to take the fight. When do you want to take the fight slow? When do you want to take the fights fast? The second thing that you want to take note of is if you are the vanguard. So if you're supposed to be marking the flanker, then you have to be brave, go in there and aggressively trade with them, especially if it's a champion with a big spell like a cannon or a Sejuani, right? Especially in situations where there's a blast cone, you want to be running them out and away from the blast cone, so it is you who has access to a blast cone and not them instead. Or if you are able to take out the blast cone in such a situation, it's fine as well, because then you enable 4v4 where they are missing a very big team fight ultimate. And if you are the DPS, then the secondary DPS needs to be going on the same target as the core reset champion. And the core reset champion in these style scenarios, what you want to be looking to do is you want to focus on attacking the periphery of your opponent's formation, and then you try to get the reset inwards, especially in these scenarios where the opponents have a very tight, very strong amount of DPS at a close range. Now, that pretty much wraps up what I think is a very interesting team fight that happened in the game between Istanbul Wildcats and the Mad Lions. And if there are more interesting scenarios that happens throughout it, I would continue to do YouTube videos on them. If you enjoy this style of content, please do give this video a like and consider subscribing to my channel. Enjoy the games at MSI. I think that the first few days, not necessarily the best games, but there was already one huge upset, and I think that there's more bangers gonna be coming soon. And with that, this is Jensen signing out.